Hello everyone, this is Humid Peach and today will be the second part of the video, where you and I draw with watercolor. In the first part 1 drew sketch for this drawing, so you can see if you were wondering. But in this video I will show the process of working with watercolor from start to finish. So subscribe to my channel if you like my videos and do you want to see them more. I am very pleased and can also follow me on other social media. Links will be in the description. I would also like to express my great gratitude to followers on Boosty and Patreon. But now let's start. First thing, I remove excess pencil and I make it a regular batter. Well, the next stage I need the body shade, using yellow and pink color. In my case I use specifically Opera Kink. This video will be. It's easy enough to determine what shades I'm using. And to be honest, there is no fundamental importance. What exactly will you hint? But there is one basic rule that I always say. Try to make up your watercolor palette like this, to the shades that follow. Created mixtures were single pigment. Either well max 2 pigments. And try to super many colors not mix. Because otherwise you might get dirt. This is probably the most main rule. Just study your palette. In previous videos I already talked about it in more detail. But if you were wondering, learn more specific mixes. And do you want a separate video about how I hint, for example, body shades? Then of course, leave comments, and I will try to make such a video. But despite that, what I draw a portrait. Yes, and often I get asked, what body color did you use? Can you spot that I use purple ones very much of blue shades, and overall there is no clear answer which body shade should be used, and how to hint it, because portrait is always different. And it depends in first turn on the light. In my portraits you can rarely see pure bodily shades without adding any third-party colors. For example, I very rarely see. Maybe now it appears more often. But other artists usually have. There is no such riot of colors as mine. And it's like I don't speak. Like plus just. Despite that, I always wanted some kind of realism. Clear transmission. But my eye perhaps just highlights some, takes into account shades. The slightest just in reference. And enhances them. That is, I do it not intentionally, and in general, the whole process of me drawing with watercolor, this is more intuitive thing. And probably in first place because of that, what I draw most often by intuition. Yes, I'm studying, yes, I am. Repeating references. In general, I try to upgrade my skills somehow. Analyzing your work, other people's work. But still, how I think drawing is that process. When are you? You don't always want to know 100% how you achieved this. I do not know, perhaps I say some stupid thought. But overall I like it. Unpredictability, and I try not to think through work from start to finish. But just here I go as it goes. I'm generally probably a supporter. Not learning in that regard. That me. By yourself. Studied watercolor, and I had to drop all knowledge which I got in art school because I somehow failed them. Apply, and they didn't quite fit by what I would like to see, yes, as a result. So I just tried a lot. Painted, mixed, experimented with different materials. But how do I think? That's some intuition and simple. Trust. The process of enjoying it, it gives more result. But of course, if you still apply knowledge to it, your experience, on a subconscious level, then this will also lead you to a good result. And perhaps now that era. That era. Yes, when everyone learns from videos on the internet. But it wasn't about me. Because I think I generally started watching YouTube very late. And even more so look for some videos. And so my training was simply that I drew a lot. And tried a lot of different things. Yes, and actually at that time, I think there were not a lot of tutorials. Perhaps they were in English. But to be honest, me somehow. I will frankly. I'm bored watching. Although of course it happens very interesting. But especially on a regular basis I watched no. Especially in the beginning I think. Didn't even look on purpose. Video with drawing processes. Because it seemed to me. What can I? Something to adopt, so to speak on a subconscious level still. And I was wondering myself. Create something. What I will like. So 8 years later. Self-learning I'm at that point. In which I am. And yes. Maybe I could get better. But to be honest. Each of us has our own path and. It's probably more important for me to get. Emotion. From drawing and from result. Than being a technically verified artist. Because it feels like. That when I very much understand how it is achieved. Me the process becomes by itself not interesting. So yes, I use some knowledge. Yes, I apply the experience gained, but I don't do it probably intentionally. It's more like I said, happens subconsciously. And actually I strive for it. Because I think knowledge is good. And in some way it gives freedom, but if this is correct apply. Speaking of the process, then of course the most first layers I have are very light. I draw them in mixed media. It can be dry. And wet technique wet. I like combining these techniques because they create a cool effect. For example, dry technique. If you watched in the beginning, it allows you to reach clearer boundaries. If you, for example, do not need super blue texture and result by raw or wet. I draw in those places where I don't need any clear spots already. Yes, called usually spots because I like here it is watercolors and when there is still not everywhere smooth transitions. And somewhere there are still accents. And some clear boundaries. Such a slightly crisp texture I would call. You also probably noticed that reference he is black and white. And yes, I like to draw sometimes with black and white photos because allows, well, don't lean on the color ones. Combinations, but here in the process, yes, that's what will come to mind. What you wanted then you use. So you can perfectly see. Here actually, it turned out a classic combination. It's orange body shades and purple. By the way, when I started drawing, this combination was very common in my works, somewhere years old. 5 back hair I draw a lot darker. And use paint from granulation. Here of course it will not be particularly visible granulation. If I'm not mistaken the color is called Moonlight by Daniel Smith. But I think you can just hinting a bunch of paint. Because there is not much need, probably cleanliness. Or in general maybe I just forgot. How can you hint dirty paint? This is me right now, not like I'm so cool and just I really do not know. Well, thank you for being with me. I hope you liked the drawing and my dangling in the background. So like and subscribe.